Hey everybody, this is PD from the Spinner Rack, and today I want to talk about Perez, George Pérez, and one of the titles he worked on for Malibu's Ultraverse. Now, at this period, as I spoke about, I did Crimson Plague before this, and this time, one of the books I enjoyed in the 90s was the Ultraverse. Now, this, even though it wasn't that big of a book, it was had some buzz around it. You know, I think the Ultraverse was a universe of all writers, and they had put together, and they did a, for lack of a better, valiant effort to try to do a universe. Had a lot of backstory, carried a lot of supporting characters, everything that a comic book needs. But then they were drawing from a lot of stuff that you already saw in sort of Marvel. So you had characters like Hard Case, who's not really, I guess, has some similarities to Superman, but he's not really like that. He has his heart is somewhere in there, but he's kind of, since he's an actor, he's kind of this guy who has a, has an ego. And we have Prime, who's a kid who blows up into like a similar to how the Hulk works, but he's kind of not as durable. We have Topaz, who's over here. We have Ghoul. We got Pix. We got Contrary, who's kind of wants to teach these younger ultras, as they call them. They're in superhero here. They're ultras. And then we have Prototype, who's kind of like a group in one. Now, in the first couple issues, you kind of introduced to his group, but you hear less about them when they become the Ultraverse. Now, this would be right before Perez went and did his classic run on the Avengers. For me, I will say, at the time, this kind of was a little, I don't know. There was something about this book that I really liked. And I'm not going to say anything. I enjoyed Perez's Avengers. I kind of wish Perez kind of did some writing. So I don't know if he had a little more hand in the plotting. But he went through the Ultra universe through Breakthrough. Now, Breakthrough, I can't say that there's so much going on in here. So many characters. Perez, I think the second one's inked by Alve. But ultimately, this is an action-packed thing. Characters, all of this is really for the times. I don't want to bring this in there because this would be too hard to go through, very dense. And I showed you doing the other Perez story. His stuff is dense and stuff like that. So they also had books that came out at the time, which was Saxon Violence and iBots for Techno Comics. Ultraverse had 3 ash cans, which I have, right? And then the ash cans were reprinted in Ultraverse #1, right? So zero, in the 0 issue. One, now, trying to do a Perez comic is just so dense. So much stuff here. So it's like paging through it. I'm hoping you guys get to enjoy it as much as I do, but it's this classic thing of being in in a cemetery, and then Ghoul comes up and then asks for a newspaper. And then, of course, everyone is down on Ultra, so you get that Marvel sort of feel. Now, this story would be similar to, say, what would it be? It'd be similar to X-Men #1, some elements of like Giant Size or the first couple issues of the new X-Men. It'd be sort of pulling all those things together. So you got a lot of characters. But what I did like was also has a lot of connection to real people here, right? So it has some X-Men stuff, and it has some Stan Lee Marvel type stuff, where they don't really no time to really get these guys. It's like the way the Avengers kind of worked, right? This is Prime in his kid form, and he blows up in his green, so the Glob becomes Prime, and then Prime is coming out to be the leader. So basically, this first issue is more about the Ultras trying to form, and Hard Case kind of not with it. Like he's here to help out, Ghoul, because Ghoul's getting attacked by all those people, but he's not really. He's seen Ultras die, and he's not really keen on that, right? So, contrary, she stays in this getup, and we're thankful for it the entire time, right? And then Ghoul uses his powers. He can actually have dead people come back alive for a little while, or talk or speak. But they're gonna relearn. This was the big bad, or in the book, which was a Talon, right? It looks like they're together, but they're not. When we get to this issue, Prime is the one trying to set up the Ultras and giving them the name Ultraforce, right? This is the time of the 90s. Everything had a force in it, or or blood. Thank you, Rob Liefeld. And then we have Contrary here, killing it every panel. Every panel she kills it, right? And see, this is they're trying to shoot Ghoul, and then Hardcase comes in. So you see, even though he's kind of not with it at times, he kind of do a shot where he kind of pushing against saying the government could try to hurt him. But, he's been pretty level-headed. And then Mantra's here. This is Mantra here. This is a male trapped in a female's body that Prime is kind of interested in, but he doesn't know it's actually a guy. She turns him down easily. I mean, not that easily, but, And when he's about to fight earlier, I keep missing it. He gets teleported out while he's arguing with the troops, and meets. This is the first time they start to get connected, right? So we got Hardcase, Contrary, and we got Pix. And they're arguing about their stuff. See how dense this stuff is? And we have Prototype, who's filming a commercial, and then Prime comes in there and wants to, get him to join Ultraverse. And he says, hey, I'm going to start recruiting members right now. And that leads them to a classic sort of fight. And I think Perez was saying, I think he says it in, which book is this? He says it in here. Since these characters are kind of similar to, like Iron Man or the Hulk, Superman, and that sort of thing, and some of the Avengers, like why should I should just be drawing the Avengers, right? And we all know what happened to what's it? To the Malibu's Ultraverse. They're bought out by Marvel, and of course, Perez, there was Avengers Ultraforce, and then soon after that, Marvel, Perez was doing the Avengers. So sorry about that. And this is, I think, the first issue. They're not together yet, but this shows you what a Talon can do, right? In the age of a Talon before the age of Ultron, right? And this where we get introduced to Topaz. She just pops up out of nowhere. Contrary's she wants to train those two guys because they're, this was a sequence I really liked, that she pops up out of nowhere. She's from an all-female society, and then she starts fighting the men because she thinks they're attacking her. And then, of course, she sees the football as something she has to destroy. I think I got a chuckle out of that when I first read this. And you see, Ghoul can see something about her that no one else can see, which he's kind of disregarding. Right? And then these heroes already know what's going on, so they're going to check out this guy. So I guess this is where I'm going to kind of leave it, because it's kind of tough to go through this. But if you can look at the art, this goes into the nuclear warheads, so they're like Magneto and X-Men #1, right? So he plans on some big destruction of the planet, but his power is gravity. So if you look at that, he's able to obviously controlling everything, not allowing Prime to do anything. And the same with let's see, bang. So he's not only got these powers, he's also strong. And then he takes using his gravity powers, he's able to change energy. He's using his gravity powers can even, it's something from, who was it? He says Albert Einstein say gravity can bend energy. And he makes them fly to him. And then he does that. He really kicks everyone's behind. And then Hardcase comes and saves him. He's really upset. He finds out that Prototype's a kid, and he thinks that Prime is dead, right? Then Prime pops back because it's sort of protoplasm or something like that. Something weird. So now they finally got the team together. Everybody's arguing. It's a nice sequence of whatnot. And this is where the end of issue 1, they become the Ultraverse. All right. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the rest of the story because it's only 12 minutes in. We got 2 issues, so that's going to be worth something someday. Prime, they're not listening to him. He decides to walk off and leave the team. Does anything else happen in here? But basically, throughout this issue, there's a lot of Marvel arguing and bickering in this series. In this one, that's really nice right there. He's just using his gravity power to take more and more nuclear weapons to gain this power over the world and use it against the world. He's causing all this destruction. This is his whole plan, right? So as he goes through, what happens here? And this is another cool sequence where to show that all the armies of all the governments have gone together to try to deal with the Talon. And it's useless. And this is a really cool way to show that everyone's going down. Because it's some of it's not panels shifting. I guess it's all one thing, but at the same time, it's really cool. Showing there's powers, and at the same time, everything falling apart. And then, of course, he sees her even worse. And they're giving the Talon heck. So if you want some Perez fight scenes and Perez type drama, you can definitely get it in this series. So if you read the Avengers enough time and you haven't read this, that would be a good reason to go and check this stuff out. Prime comes back saying he's wrong, he's going to stay. But a Talon uses one of the bombs. But we saw, I quickly went through it, we saw that he grabbed Ghoul. So this is where the story kind of turns, where we get the history of a Talon. He's taking Ghoul because he realized he can talk to ghosts, so he wants to talk to his ancestors. And his ancestors aren't that happy about him talking to them. and that their tomb has been desecrated. So this is another great sort of setup. These sort of things you could see Perez do, these montages, panel montages. See Talon get banished. And this is cool, going down from here, leading you up to here. So it's another master of the form. I love that type of panel. And we see, Contrary is more like the Professor X, but the hot, the hot blonde Professor X that kind of is a little more manipulative than Professor Xavier, right? And look at all those he's got now, right? Their plan is to save the day with these, diffuse everything with these radiation suits. But of course, Talon isn't going to really allow that to happen that easily, right? So we got two more. I'm only at the 16-minute mark, so maybe if I speed through this. Another cool shot. I mean, come on. Plan is to so all these guys have containment suits, not contrary, right? They attack again. This time it's more for diversion, but you get a lot of classic Perez action. And regretfully, Pix loses her suit. She decides she's going to do it anyway. I think in an earlier issue, I think I might have sped through it. Talon destroyed her thing. He's going to go back to it. Her plan is she's going to defuse it one at a time. But at the same time, there's too much nuclear weapons to be around. She's slowly dying while she's doing it. While at the same time, and Perez really does like this movie type action, cutting back and forth between Ghoul doing her thing and them holding off the troops and the Talon. Right? We got a little Perez inking on this one right here. This page. And I realized she did it. So this page too is both Terry Austin, and she stopped him. She's gone. She's passed. Right? And of course, the big finale, but since it has its similarities, it goes a different way, right? That's another great shot. I would say that a lot with Perez. And they're just hammering. Yeah, his thing is like nail biting action. And I guess this character is a little bit like Graviton. So instead of letting the fight go on, country takes it in, and then they have a talk, and they negotiate some terms. He becomes the king. They wonder what happens, and then they've negotiated, which the heroes aren't happy about. And this was the setup that a Talon would be back, but of course he hasn't been back. But that's it. I did it in 20 minutes, and there we go. Ultraverse, which would lead to... No, it wouldn't lead to that. It would lead to Avengers and Ultraforce. Right? These two, oh, it would be like this. I'm not sure which one is worse. Ultraforce Avengers and Avengers Ultraforce, right? That's it. Spin rack out.